Guess what? We're starting 15 minutes early. And there's a guy asking, shouldn't this have started like hours ago? Well, anyway, greetings, fellow hairless apes. How are you doing today? Feeling particularly civilized today, are we? I have put up the stream FAQ/bingo, so hopefully that'll limit the number of recurring questions a little bit this time. I basically put as many on there as I could justify without making the font too small. This may already be a tad bit small, but yeah, we'll see if that helps. Let me actually pull this just a little bit larger. Yeah. So it just about fits in. Almost doesn't. Oh, there's plenty. What can I say? Skell is in a good mood. How would you know? I could roast you anytime, you know? If anything, I'm feeling a little cranky because it's still early. So, yeah. Yeah, do you drink is not on there. I could have probably just, do you smoke weed / do you drink? Could have included that. Oh well. There's always more. Any experience with Eastern European weapons, Russian ones? Aside from a Kinjal, not really. We recommend an oil for swords to prevent rust. Yes, so any mineral oil will do. ATF will work as well, automatic transmission fluid. You can use a lot of kinds of oil, really. I wouldn't recommend things like olive oil because they can go rancid over time, so not necessarily that, but... Actually, why do I have the damn headphones on? I don't need them right now. I'm not actually listening to anything or anyone, so I can hear myself better without them. What else we got? Well, do you watch Attack on Titan is covered under have you watched XYZ anime? Probably not, and the case is here too? No. So that's already covered. That's as broad as possible to cover everything. And as far as oil is concerned, yeah, mineral oil and also camellia oil works quite well. There's kind of certain oils that are branded as sword cleaning oils, but there's a lot of stuff you can use. Would you have a multiplayer game session with your audience? As Blargdy and Naot can attest, I am pretty difficult to get into multiplayer games because I'm really much more of a single player kind of guy. It's hard to find games to agree with me on, so to speak, like stuff that I play. I like to play fighting games, but not many people in my audience do, apparently, so yeah, I don't know. I do not like anything MMO really in general, and yeah, just the majority of my favorite games are single player, as you can see right there actually in that list. Stop with the beard growing questions. It's literally there. It's right there. In fact, wait, where is it? There. How to grow a beard. It's right here. It's really simple. That's one of the most random questions I've seen. What do you think of people that kiss in public and stuff? Who cares? I mean, if they start making out and start having sex in public, that's a little bit much, but who cares? You can use WD-40, but I wouldn't really recommend it. For one, it can kind of gum up a little bit over time, and also it smells weird, at least to me. I know there are some engineers getting high off of it, and like, how can you not like the smell of it? But no, not for me. There's something about the background light that makes me look like the top of my head is completely flat. It's just something about strong backlight does that. Oh well, who cares? And if you want to try streaming on Twitch, nope. I've tried that and it was a waste of time. It's just very few people ever showed up, and it's like, why am I doing that at that point? What else we got? What? No. What got you into sword fighting? The fact that swords are cool, you know? What got me seriously interested was just I don't know, personal interest. It's just why do we do things that we enjoy? You know, why do we approach things that interest us? I don't know, human psychology, I guess. The Twitch question is not frequently enough. That's actually more of an occasional kind of deal. Doesn't really warrant an FAQ. And as you can see, I literally cannot cram any more on there without doing another column, and then it starts to get a little ridiculous. Can you name a European site that sells swords? I can't, no. Wouldn't know. Even back when I lived in Europe, I ordered everything from the US. It's just because that's where all the, the broad selection is. I mean, there are a number of custom bladesmiths in Europe, but like as far as production lines are concerned, most of that is, more available in NA. Thank you, Big Husk. That's very generous of you. You start off the super chats with a bang. Games are all bad anyway. Swing more swords. Yeah. Well, you can swing swords in games, right? What's a good way to go about getting rust off a sword you left sitting for too long? I think I made a video about that, how to remove rust. I mean, the simple ways, basically, you start out as low as possible. So start out with metal polish, the polishing paste like Flitz and other brands. You can just rub that on and try if you can polish it off if it's superficial enough. If that doesn't work, go with super fine steel wool. If that still doesn't work, you can go with the coarser steel wool, and then eventually you ramp it up all the way to, say, well, you could start out with 1,000 grit sandpaper. Chances are, if everything else didn't work, then you may want to try 600. Yeah, just kind of keep going up in grit until you remove it. Because you want to go as easy on it as possible. You don't want to scratch the hell out of the steel. You just want to, do enough abrasive that you remove just the rust, just a thin layer. If you don't like the smell of WD-40, I recommend Ballastol. It smells like licorice. Not to me. Ballastol, I mean, it has a very strong smell, and I'm not really the biggest fan of it. I definitely would not associate it with licorice, but yeah, everybody's sense of smell is a little different. Do you prefer Gladius or Spatha in general? Good question. I really like the Spatha I used to have, but I think if I had to pick, I think I prefer the Gladius just a little bit. There's something about the short, broad blade. Grope that chin, you're sexy man. You're a weirdo, Simon. You know that, right? But thank you anyway. Fat bike getting any action in the snow? Occasionally. It's not the most inviting kind of weather, but yeah, it works in the snow quite well. In fact, I there are patches where I'm rather on with the fat bike than on foot. Like you slip more easily on foot than on the fat bike, so that's kind of funny. Oh my goodness. Why every time you people are so obsessed with what I drink? Every time. What are you drinking? What are you drinking? What is that? What is that? Like, oh my goodness. Why is it so fascinating? It is a liquid. This happens to be diet root beer, but what's the fascination? I don't get it. It also comes in clusters, weirdly. It's like literally like 5 separate people independently of each other just ask, what's that? What's that? What are you drinking? Huh? Oh boy. Sometimes I do kind of feel like you treat this like a zoo. Thank you, Oiva? I'm not sure how you pronounce that. Love your content. Keep it up. Thanks. And will do. Yeah, apparently you do love liquids. Yeah, can you tell us all about what's in your pantry right now? In fact, let's do a tour and stream. Yeah, people need to know everything. Everything. The exact calorie count of everything I imbibe, and all the macro and micronutrients. Everything. Thanks again, Big Husk. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. Oh, right, today's the 14th. Buy you and the missus some goodies. Thanks. One actual question: do you think the crossbow actually changed warfare towards projectiles, or was it just inevitable? No. I mean, the crossbow has been around for a very long time. The Greeks already had crossbows, and the Chinese had crossbows very early. So they've been around for a long time without shifting toward ranged combat overall. So I don't think so. It's just the crossbow's always just been an alternative to the bow, which has some advantages and also huge disadvantages over the bow. So yeah. How's VR treating you? I find it dizzying and sickening. Curious if you still feel the same. It depends on the game. Like the kind of game where you have to move with the stick, so there's no teleport. That's terrible usually. Or anytime the character moves, basically, while you're standing still, the VR shows you that you're moving in the virtual world. That really messes with a lot of people's brain. That's what causes motion sickness, and I get that too. So it's not nice, but the more stationary stuff or the games that have teleport, that's fine generally. Can't play them for too terribly long, but that's usually okay. Oh, crunchy. My awareness is good in VR games compared to other streamers. That's just ironic. When the guy with attention deficit disorder has more awareness in VR games than a lot of gamers on YouTube and Twitch and whatever. That's wow. That's bad. That is pretty bad. Have you played Breath of the Wild? Yes, I have. 'Tis good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually talked about some of the weapons in a video. Was it a recorded stream or something? But I think it was an edited video. So yeah, you can look that up. Mm-hmm. Where would you recommend buying battle ready armor that is mail and plate rather than sparring gear? Also, you're awesome. Thank you, Ornstein. There aren't too many places that I'm aware of that really sell high quality armor. The problem is if you want high quality, you generally need to go to actual armorers. However, I mean, if you just want mail, and if you're not looking for something that's like super high quality and fitted to you and all of that, Then Cult of Athena does have a lot of stuff. They have, especially mail. They have a lot of different kinds of mail. They have, riveted. They have. Don't even consider butted. Don't, like, even for costume use. Anyway, they also have. I think they have some welded even. They have aluminum ring mail, etc. It's all kinds of stuff. Otherwise, what was, I think Steel Mastery is the name. Yeah, steel-mastery.com. They have a lot of armor, and it seems pretty well made for, off the shelf stuff, so to speak. Although I shouldn't even say that, because I think they actually make them based on your measurements. Yeah. They have a variety of things. They have anything from budget to pretty high end. Do you ever consider doing a video on fantasy/sci-fi guns? For example, the pistols and rifles in Destiny or Star Wars. Keep up the good stuff. Thank you, good stuff. I thought about it every now and then, but I don't know how interesting that really is. Because a lot of the time it's just... It's more of an ergonomics kind of deal. Because some of the stuff you can say about it, like, doesn't really seem to have a magazine of any kind of significant size, or the way it's loaded is just random and weird. But sometimes it's literally just magic or whatever. Like, oh, it's some kind of high-powered battery or whatever. It's, or literally powered by magic. So you can't really say anything about it mechanically because there are no mechanics, basically. So it's really more about ergonomics. And some are terrible. Like some you could barely even hold on to or couldn't really aim with, etc. But I don't know if I can make an entire video about that. Have you considered getting an editor? Yes, but I don't want to spend the money, and also I find it really tedious to actually coordinate with somebody else, because if I'm gonna have to, send over the footage and then tell them exactly how I want it edited, and then then I gotta upload it, and then they gotta edit it and send it back to me, and then I gotta probably still make some changes potentially. It doesn't really make sense. At that point, I might as well get started myself, because the most difficult part for me is getting started. Once I'm started, I go into hyper focus, and I just go. So once I get started, I might as well do it myself. Yeah. I don't know. And I like, even though it's stupidly time consuming, I actually like that it's still a one-man show. It makes it more personal, Anyway. Confirmed Olden British were just whiners? What? Another one. What's your favorite war and why? I don't have favorite war. There's nothing positive about war. Either for combat and for cultural importance. Yeah, no. I don't have a positive view of war. So I don't have, what's your favorite human tragedy where a lot of people died? I don't do that. Even though I like weapons and I'm interested in historical martial arts and everything, and I'm interested in the, kind of strategy side of things, I'd never separate that from, the horrors of war, basically. So I wouldn't name any favorite. Wondering if you have any comments on Metatron hack. Thanks, Nicholas. Well, I just saw it pop up, and I was like, oh crap, another one of us got hacked. Like, they get more and more fucking devious with the tricks. Like, it gets pretty hard at times to protect yourself against all this bullshit. I mean, the good thing is, anytime, like, for one, he got it back, and he restored everything, so that's good. And also the good thing is, every time somebody lets everybody else know about this particular new tactic they have, everybody else has more of a chance to protect themselves against it. So, kind of an arms race, huh? War is terrible, but saying nothing positive has come from it isn't true. Well, I didn't say that, but yeah. It's also not really a good justification. Like, sometimes people point out, yeah, but, war has stimulated technological development in some ways. And they're saying it like that kind of exonerates war. Like, hey, you know what? It's not so bad. No, it's still bad. Just because there are some positive side effects doesn't mean it's not bad. So, yeah. What's your opinion on AKs? I don't really have any particular feelings. Like, I haven't shot an actual AK. I've handled similar-ish models, but I really don't have strong feelings one way or another. It's, from what I hear, they're very reliable, and yeah, ergonomics-wise, they seem pretty good. America has benefited the most from war. Correction, the rich and powerful have benefited most from war. That's all it ever is. By favorite, I kind of meant historically important. Yeah, I know. Figured you'd view it like that for favoritism. Still, I don't really rank them, I really don't. There are very important, very interesting ones, Battle of Hastings, obviously, is one of that comes to mind, and Thermopylae, etc., etc. But I don't know, I don't really have particular favorites, really. Saying war has some positives, like getting cancer has some benefits. Yeah, people give you sympathy. Is it worth it? Hell no. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it does. Getting cancer is like might make you more conscious of how little time you have and make that time count. It might make you reconnect with people because it reminds you of your own mortality, etc. Yeah, sure. Is that... Does that mean it's good to get cancer, or does anything does that redeem cancer as such? No. There might be a Diablo 2 remaster announcement next week at BlizzCon Online. Yeah, would you play that? It depends if it's just a remaster or a remake. Because if all they do is just bump up the resolution, nah. Remaster isn't good enough. I've just played it to death enough. It would have to be a remake, I think. Like, really, I mean, it could still be... I don't necessarily mean a remake that just completely changes it. Like, it doesn't have to change the storyline, doesn't have to change the, everything. But a bit of an overhaul, like interface overhaul, and really like remake the graphics rather than just bump up the resolution, stuff like that. That would be nice. Instead of all this talk of human tragedy, what about human triumphs? I get you're a sword guy, but I assume you also like good end stories. Yeah, sure. Thanks, Funny Fritz, by the way. I mean, you can of course connect that. Like, for example, the abolishment of slavery, is as a result of the Civil War. So it led to something good, but then again, society still needed a long time to really improve things long term. I mean, it's still a lot of things are still pretty terrible, but anytime for example, an important vaccine has been developed, that's been a huge triumph. Anytime a certain disease has been cured, like, for example, all the diseases that used to plague, childhood and also later, measles and mumps and all this, lots of diseases and conditions that can be cured now. That's always a huge triumph. And of course, raising standards of living, life expectancy, making improvements in food production, etc. Those are all triumphs. It's just it's more gradual ones. They don't stand out as much as, we've defeated the Nazis, stuff like that. We nuked Japan twice and created hentai. Yay. There's no direct cause and effect of that, by the way. The internet loves that correlation, but correlation is not causation. Anyway, there's the review for your new messer coming out probably in summer, if not later, because chances are I may not be able to test it before then. Lack of testing location and all that currently. I would die for hentai. Okay, then. Well, then. Have you ever shot a Mosin Nagant? Yeah, I used to own one. Was not really super impressed by it. It's such a stiff action. Like, damn. You have to really work that damn thing. How about literature? You're a tragedy or a comedy guy? More comedy, I would say. I mean, you can always have tragic comedy, but yeah. Did you read David Benatar or Thomas Ligotti's work? No. And are you an antinatalist? No. Of course, now the chat is all about the hentai. You can't even mention the word without people losing their minds. You're obsessed, people. Just gotta let you know. Slightly obsessive. We bring in the science team. The science team for what? Will you review the Pro Gauntlet? Yeah, whenever I get my hands on it, which apparently seems to take quite a while. Did you pick up Chad's book? Nope. Very smooth action. Have you ever shot a Lee Enfield? Yeah, the Lee Enfield. I also used to own one. A poor, abused, spoilerized thing, but I picked it up at a gun show for what, $100 or less. So can't really complain. Yeah, way more agreeable action, much smoother. Has COVID slowed down deliveries of what? You mean like general postal stuff? Yeah, definitely. Definitely takes noticeably longer for packages to arrive because they're all, they've all fallen behind and are struggling to catch up. Been kind of addicted to your videos lately. Excellent. Especially the videos where you're debunking video games and the like. Good. Have you ever played Vampire the Masquerade? You know, the pen and paper? Yeah, I used to. Quite a few years ago. I also, back in the old days, I used to play Vampire Masquerade Redemption on PC. That was such a good game for the time. Hasn't aged super well, but for the time it was amazing. Thanks, Omnipotent and Zarko. Loved your videos since I started watching them many months ago. Here, have $5 and go buy yourself a pizza on me. Thanks. I mean, $5 is kind of a small pizza, at least here. I don't know. I don't know what your local pizza prices are. Hope you're having a good day. Just finished doing FB Life Death Black Rowling attempt. Okay. Now I don't have to worry about breaking stuff. Stay safe. All right. Thanks. Will do. You criticize the new For Honor hero? No. For Honor is boring. I don't know. I lost interest in it pretty quickly. Like, I played it for a little bit, and then I made, 2 videos about it or so? 2 or 3, and then I was just done with it. It's not necessarily because there's anything super wrong with the game. It's just, I don't know, I just lost interest. It just started to be boring. I can't tell you why exactly. Are your neighbors cool? No, they're a bunch of psychopaths. They are loud. They have a screecher or 2, barking dogs, and they stomp around in the middle of the night at the weirdest hours. Bunch of psychos, I tell you. Isn't that game dying? I would assume, probably at this point. Also, my name sounds like crap in English, so just call me Gloomy A-hole. Okay. I'd rather not. Thanks, Beal Killer, for becoming a member. Appreciate it. Mossberg 590 or Remington 870. I haven't actually shot a Mossberg 590. I used to have the Remington 870, which is, it's pretty good in a lot of ways, but I never liked the way it bites you whenever you you load it, because that loading gate, there's something about it. It always pinches you. Yeah, so I'd be willing to try out the 590, but I don't know. Thoughts on historical / weapon accuracy in the Assassin's Creed series. I've made several videos about it, and it used to be much better. Like, they used to have some actual historical accuracy, and then it went downhill. So, kind of weird. You were Screecher once. Yeah, I know. I never understand what people are trying to accomplish with this. You were a kid once. Yeah, so what? I was annoying. So what? This is nothing to say, literally. I don't exempt myself from that, How does one handle psychopathic neighbors? Prepare to move. That's the most effective way. And thanks, Gustav, for also becoming a member. Awesome. I hope the Borks are at least pleasant. No. I mean, what are pleasant dog barks? I don't know. I'm just not a fan of noise in general. So, Don't know what else to tell ya. Those who think of you in the past will not always be remembered. How they can recognize as whoever you currently are. Huh? I'm not sure I understand what you're saying. Maybe it's still because it's still early and I'm still groggy and cranky and I almost never sleep terribly well, so maybe I'm just like, huh? Dude, I'm not quite here yet. Thanks, Mr. Extra Player. What is that? Is that a peach? That's a weird emote. Anyway, to answer the question in that, it's going pretty well. Aside from it being early and me being cranky. I'm not sure what he's saying as well. Okay, so it's not just me. If the dog is happy and just wants to play, yeah, I mean, I'm not blaming the dogs. The dogs are just being dogs, but it's still loud. I don't like noise. Maybe it's another one of those ADD things. My brain just gets overloaded if there's constant noise going on. So it's like it makes me irritable and distracted, and yeah. You were right. You said that snowstorms suck and people who don't experience them don't think so. Well, these last few days I've gotten a ton of snow and you're right. It does suck. Yeah. I stick to it. The only people who like snow are the ones who get basically none. It's super rare. Or people who are but basically people who don't need to deal with it. Like kids or people who live in apartments who don't need to plow snow and who don't drive either for some reason. Yeah. People who don't have to deal with it. There's a small minority of people who genuinely like it because they're super into winter sports or whatever, but Yeah. I think generally if you get a lot of snow where you live and you actually have to deal with it yourself, there's like a 90% chance you don't like it. That's what I'm claiming. Even existing for me is making me cranky and shit. Yeah. That's understandable. Yeah, I mean, who likes to shovel? Who does? I like snow and all of the work it requires. It feels good doing that. Well, you are definitely in the minority. Good for you, but it confuses me. Have you watched the Oh yeah, right. I need to add that to the FAQ. Have you watched The Last Kingdom? Nope. What kind of infidel prefers Street Fighter 3 over 4? You mixed up the numbers, bro. What kind of infidel prefers Street Fighter 4 over 3? That's what this should be. I just like good old classic 2D sprite Street Fighter. Sue me. It's not that I don't like 4, but if I had to choose between the two, 3. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. The roster is dramatically better in 4. Way better. I do not like how random the character selection. Well, I shouldn't say random, but there's so many like standard characters missing in 3, and so many. There's a bunch of characters in there that are just kind of like, oh, why? What? I just think gameplay-wise, 3 is better. But yeah, characters, not so good in 3. Although I've come to appreciate some of the ones that they added in 3. Mm-hmm. Subscribed to your channel like 5 years ago. Still enjoy everything about it. Well, thank you. That's a long time. At least it's not all the way back to the cringe era. How do you pronounce caramel? Like that. I don't say caramel. That's just weird. Caramel. Like me some caramel. Good day, I am back. Well, welcome back, Joel, and thank you. Caramel. I've been here since the cringe era. Well, what do you think? When do you think the cringe era starts? Because the further you go back in time, the worse it gets. 2007, 8. Oh, oof. Hey, that's how most Newfies say caramel. Well, Newfies. Don't even get me started. That's a strange dialect, can't tell you. Um, Thanks, budding humanist. How many body spins and sword twirls per strike does a true sword master do? I know I'm indulging my super chat habit. You sure are. And also the number's approaching zero. It's not necessarily zero in all in all situations, but approaching zero. With you since 2010. Yeah, 2010 is still pretty high on the cringe. I mean, the good thing is, if I look back at the older stuff, I can tell how much I've grown as a person. So that's good. I'm less of a dickhole. I know more, and I'm more eloquent. I have less of a cringy accent, and so that's good. I still have a long way to go. There's still plenty of improvement, and I hope that in 10 years, if I look back to now, I'll have the same reaction. I'll be like, ew, that guy. The fuck? And that's good. That is good. Newfie is just beer, the language. Perhaps. Isn't the Techno Viking relatively new? What? Techno Viking is ancient. Truthfully, does the cringe era ever stop? Probably not. I mean, we constantly redefine what cringe is, you know? One year something is super cool, and then, 5 years later you look back at it like, why? Let alone 10 or more. But then, 30 years later, you may get into that nostalgia and glorification phase. It tends to be around 30 years ago. Right now, the 90s are super nostalgic. In the 90s, some people had nostalgia for the 60s. It's a thing. What about the VB messer you bought? Have you used it any more in sparring? How does it feel? I haven't been able to do any sparring since October, so still the same opinion that I've had then. So summary is, I find it a little weird how little blade presence it has, because it's such a narrow blade and not super thick. So I mean, it's good that it has a flex, but it doesn't really feel like a messer as such. And you can definitely tell the lack of blade presence, against a wider messer. It just doesn't bind as well. It doesn't deliver strikes the same way. I'm a product of the 80s. That's where my nostalgia resides. Yeah, to me, it's like mainly early 90s, a bit of late 80s too. That's kind of, I mean, it's just whenever you grew up, right? Because you have, it's just the time of your life when you have the least worries, I mean, unless you grow up in an abusive family, that's a different story. But unless that's the case, there's just not that much going on. You don't have that many worries. You can just mess around, be a kid, you know, play with toys and stuff. And it's like, yeah, so any time period that you grew up in, that's probably what you're going to be nostalgic about. I mean, at the same time, I still have some nostalgia for the late 90s, even though as a teenager I was super depressed and hated everything, basically. Not just the standard teenage angst, but it was like actual depression, so that was pretty bad. It's not a good time in my life, but I still have some nostalgia for some of the stuff that was around. So, you can still like other things. I'm happier as an adult than a kid. Well, that's good. Yeah. That means you're in a good place now. I was a teenager in the 90s, so it kind of sucked. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I'll admit, our teenage selves are always being edgy emo kid. I mean, there's definitely, if you look back at how you were as a teenager, it's always cringe. Like, pure cringe. It's a thing. And that's a funny thing. Like, as you grow older, you more and more understand the shit you heard as a teenager. Like, yeah, I know, I was the same way at your age. And, people trying to give advice because, they've been through it and blah, blah, whatever. Yeah. Teenagers make some stupid fucking decisions, that's for sure. Not all the time and not everybody equally, but yeah, it's pretty bad. But at the same time, it still doesn't help if somebody older is trying to give them advice. And, I've been there and you should be doing this and that, blah, blah. No, for one, it's a different person with a different life. So your advice may just not apply. Yeah. Also, if you're a different generation, society may have changed, etc., etc. There's so many things where your advice may be outdated or it may not apply to them, or you just weren't asked for it, so shut the hell up. They have to make their own experiences. You just can't force it. Boomer logic, yeah, kind of. But let's not forget about Gen X. They're pretty old too by now. So, or old-ish, middle-aged, whatever. A lot of middle-aged Karens. I was super Christian and annoying in the 90s. Not a time I want to go back to. Well, that's fair. But of course, you also have to separate your own past from the 90s overall, which is, difficult because, of course, we perceived it through our biased lens, and our memories are a little bit tainted too, or tinted, I should say. But yeah. I was born in 82. What period of history would you like to live? I used to say future. I'm not so sure about it anymore because we seem to be going downhill. So, I don't know. I can't even really say present because it's also a little bit questionable. But, I'm happy where I'm at, so I guess it's good. If I had been born earlier, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel, so there's that. We can at least have a shitty but cool cyberpunk future, maybe. Doubt it. It looks like where we're headed is like all the lame stuff about dystopias, you know? Corporations having way too much power and you being spied on and etc. etc. It's like, it was without all the cool stuff, without Shadowrunners, without all the cool cyber stuff, and it's just it's just a lame corporate dystopia that we seem to be headed toward. Yay. Great. It's easier for men to even consider living in a different period of time. Yeah. It's like if you ask a woman what time period, what historical time period would you want to live in? It's like, they're all kind of shit, aren't they? Damn, everyone born in the 90s and 80s. I'm just here as a Zoomer watching the Sword Man on YouTube. Yeah. Bunch of old farts reminiscing of talking about VHS and rewinding tapes. All this weird stuff. Payphone booths and wired phones and all this. I do still like me some synthwave though. Still good music. Probably just because I'm nostalgic, but it's still good music to my mind. Yeah, cassette players. I mean, as flawed as they were, I think a Walkman still beats a disc player because portable disc players were awful. It's like you take a step, it skips. Skip, skip, skip. It's like super choppy ridiculousness. And anti-skip technology. What a bunch of lying bullshit. There was no such thing. They all skipped at some point. It's just the anti-skip technology is how much it limits how often it skips, but ugh. And then you have one disc, like one album on you. We've come a long way. Long way. I wouldn't mind being born anywhere between 1750 and 1850. I don't know. Victorians were pretty repressive in a lot of ways. And like super, like morally lecturing, judgmental, uptight. I don't know. Not to mention that you could end up in an insane asylum for the silliest reasons. Like apparently some women ended up in insane asylums because they read books in the evening or at night or outside, outdoors, something like that. Like something ridiculous. Ugh. Yeah, they sometimes locked women in attics for being emotional. I mean, so many things. It's like, you want too much sex. Asylum. You want too little sex. Asylum. You have different political opinions. Asylum. Lobotomy. Fuck you. They were pretty insane. Like overall society. And of course the whole, we are the pinnacle of civilization and, our science is perfect and we know everything. And now we look back at the proto-science of the time, and we're like, oh boy, phrenology and all that shit. They thought they were the shit, but they were pretty backwards in some ways. But I mean, that's just how history goes. Who wins? Marx with broadsword and buckler versus Reagan with twin katanas. Oh boy. Thanks, Barlow, but that's giving me cancer right now. I'm just gonna go with broadsword and buckler. Yeah, surgery in the 1800s. Fun times. The simplest of things become extremely dangerous the further back in time you go. Yeah. Take the common flu, for example. Go back just a couple hundred years and the flu could be deadly. Yeah, a lot of things could be deadly. Childbirth used to be highly, highly risky and deadly, and all kinds of things. How to deal with burning self-hatred. Ouch. Well, try this. Whenever you're judging yourself for something you did, imagine that a good friend of yours did the same thing, and imagine what you would say to them and what you would think about it. Chances are you're much less harshly judgmental in that case. So it tells you that you're biased against yourself, basically. Do you also get depressed because of bad memory? Not necessarily, really. I mean, sometimes I think back at the past and things that happened, things I did, and I'm like, kind of, makes you kind of beat yourself up sometimes. But overall, I'm just thinking whatever, it doesn't matter. It matters where we're at now, and yeah, let the past slumber, so to speak. If it borders on heavy self-harm, might need psychiatrist help though. Yeah. Do not be afraid to seek professional help. Sometimes that's all you need. Well, I say that as if that's nothing. Oh, yeah, just professional help. That's all you need. It's no big deal, right? No, but yeah. Why don't we have a delete button so we can get rid of bad memories? That would be nice if you could deliberately delete memories, or also like deliberately enhance your recollection. If you could, like, at the same time, if at the time you're thinking this is so great, I want to remember this, you probably will. But it would be nice if you could kind of crank up the detail level, so to speak. And yeah, selectively deleting memories sometimes would be good. I'm always annoyed by, I have a really shitty memory overall, and I'm always annoyed by how my brain sometimes recollects the most trivial nonsense. Like that one time we went to a place, I remember the food we ate there, but I was sometimes remembering like super trivial little factoids that don't matter, but then a really interesting book about whatever, science or history or whatever, I forgot like 90% of it. I feel like a delete memory button would be too dangerous. Could really mess with a person's personality. Yeah, you would definitely have to be careful with that. I meant bad memory overall, not specific events. Oh, just anything that causes you kind of emotional discomfort or pain or... That may not be good. That may be too broad. Because you also need memory, like bad memories that you can learn from, bad experiences. I don't know. How does it feel to be a Canadian? I mean, a citizen of a properly wealthy country no one cares about? What? Well, I don't actually have Canadian citizenship yet, at least. So, but it's pretty good overall. I mean, no country is perfect. Canada has a lot of shit going on too. But it's not as much of a complete raging dumpster fire as some other places, I feel. And overall, it's pretty good. You wouldn't be the same person because you wouldn't have experienced and overcome life in the same way, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I even misunderstood when you clarified. You meant bad memory as in poor memory. Okay, now I get it. Right. Yeah. Just a poor ability to remember things. Yeah, I hate that. That often bothers me, to have a poor memory. That's not great. Sorry I gave you cancer. Here's $2 apology dollars. Okay. I'll put that toward chemo. Thanks. I lost most of my memories after smoking weed heavily for the last 24 years. Oh boy. But weed has no side effects, right? It cures cancer and all that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Poor memory. Can Skull speak like 4 languages? Nah. I speak 3 and, most, like 2 of them not great anymore. Because I haven't spoken anything but English since at least 2013. I think, yeah, maybe even longer. And that's part of it. That actually makes language difficult. If you have a shitty memory, like sometimes I sit there reaching for words. I'm like, what the fuck was that again? It's frustrating. What kind of training do you need to use a cutlass, the one you might see on a sailor, has a hilt and a large body for slashing? Thanks, Omniscia Sphinx. That's a pretty cool name. You could apply a lot of different techniques to it. You could actually apply Dusak techniques, some Messer even though that's earlier in time. You can, saber techniques generally, saber fencing still applies to a cutlass even though it's shorter. So, yeah. Poor memory. I have a trick to help with it. If I could remember it. Ha. Dude. Never mind. Yes, a miserable pile of secrets. Indeed. There he is. Mm-hmm. Oh, right. Have you seen Vinland Saga? That's another one for the FAQ. No. But, I mean, I did cover it under this right here. Have you watched this and that anime? Probably not. I have not watched a lot of anime, so chances are, whatever you're going to ask me, it's probably going to be no. Does a Cooper Kopesh feel strong enough that you think you can swing on it like Sly? Probably. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be for my current weight, but yeah. Dude. Either you're trolling or you need prescription glasses. The D&D question is right here. Dude. Wasn't joking with that one. With what? I'll probably overlook what you said before. I mean, you maybe talking to someone else. I don't know. Anime in moderation. I mean, I don't think there's any specific prescribed amount of anime. Like, if there's if there's good anime that interests me, you know, where the story is good and all that, yeah, sure, I may watch it, but I'm just not an anime fan as such. You like to test people's custom work. I've been bladesmithing for 70 years and have thought ball throughout. I'm assuming is all throughout about making something for you to destroy. Generally, yes. I just won't be able to for a while because we're once again stuck in a rental apartment. I don't have any good location for blade tests. So yeah, I won't be able to do that at least until summer. It looks like. Because then we're gonna move again. Can't wait to get out of this stupid place. Castlevania anime is quite good. I mean, yeah, I guess Netflix Castlevania, you would still call that anime. Sometimes it's kind of hard to say, like, is it anime or is it Western style animation? If it is anime, then yeah, absolutely. That's one of my absolute favorites. Yeah, just chop stuff up on the balcony. Mm-hmm. That'll go well. Is there ever a reason to dual wield spears? In short, no. Not really. Spear and shield is where it's at. Or just two-handed spear. Oh, when I said I wasn't joking, I was talking about the only stress relief I have is kind of self-harm. Then you really need to seek professional help. I mean, no joke here. You need to reach out. Like, go seek a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or like, you definitely need to get some help with that. It's not healthy. It's not good. Dual spear, but you throw one of them. Yeah, okay. I mean, at that point, it's still single spear. Do you think armor made from PVC or polypropylene would perform as well as steel plate? No, I don't think so. Well, polypropylene might be okay. PVC, I think, is too brittle, but I've seen like some SCA people make armor out of those large barrels that are made of. I forgot what exactly. Some kind of, heavy duty plastic. It's pretty thick. If you do that, that can be quite good. It's going to be way thicker than the equivalent steel armor, just to be damage resistant enough, I guess. Strong enough, whatever you want to call it. Dual wielding spears, you just give up a lot of penetration power that using two hands on a single spear provides. Yeah. And you're also not getting the protection that a shield will offer, so it's kind of not a great idea. Do you see Shad's latest way of wearing weapons on the back? No. Quite frankly, I really don't care. I'm not invested in the idea of wearing stuff on the back. Like, even if you come up with like some clever mechanism that makes it, I still think it's not a good idea. I mean, generally, that's why I came up with the idea of just strapping it on the side of the backpack and then dropping the backpack and pulling the weapon that way. Because yeah, if you're wearing a sword on the back, you can't wear a backpack. You can't do certain things, like you can't bend your back, in a certain way. For example, it's just, I mean, sure, a sword on the hip gets in the way too, but I feel like on the back is potentially even worse in some ways. But either way, I don't really care. I really don't. It's not high on my list. So in short, good for him, but not super interested. Strap weapons on the backpack stalker style. Yep, exactly. It's for a bow. Yeah, I still don't really care. Doesn't really matter what weapon it is. Not particularly. You know, it kind of sucks that every time you say you don't care about something, it always sounds like you're dissing somebody or you're being, kind of dismissive or whatever, but that should just be a perfectly normal response. I don't care. It shouldn't even be taken as negative or dismissive or whatever. It's just like, yeah, I'm not interested, period. I just don't care, you know? What about weapons you normally just have to carry? Would you be interested then? I don't think you can make that work effectively. Like, for example, carrying a polearm on your back? Nope. That's just not happening. Um, Stuff like, rifle. A rifle can be carried in hand, or you can sling it over your shoulder, over one shoulder with the sling. And yeah, okay. Like carrying something slung over your shoulder makes a lot more sense than having it fixed on your back, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't doubt that he came up with good ideas. He came up with a back scabbard before that seemed pretty well designed and worked. So I don't doubt that he has good ideas, but I still don't care. It's just it is what it is. Not interested. Um, any recommendations on the most durable, cheap, and easily repairable modern crossbow? There's a lot of them. Like the one that I personally have experience with that I've reviewed is the Cold Steel Cheap Shot, and that seems to fit the bill. It's pretty affordable. It's very compact, and it doesn't have cams, so it's easier to repair. British rifle sling has a clip on it, so you can have it slung diagonally, left shoulder to right hip, on front or back, and just squeeze that clip to release the front end from sling to aim it. Yeah, I mean, that works. Rifles on the back, yeah, I mean, I know some people do it. Personally, I mean, I guess I shouldn't say too much because every time I walked around with a rifle, it was at the range just to walk back and forth between the target, and then I'd rather have it on the shoulder. But I mean, if you're a hunter, if you're crawling around the woods and all this and that, then yeah, maybe having it on the back may be beneficial. So I'm not saying wearing anything on the back ever is a terrible idea. It's just I don't see why people are obsessed with it. Let's put it that way. In a certain situation, it might be good. If so, then do it. If not, yeah, it's like I don't get the fascination with it. Let's put it that way. Because a lot of the time, it makes more sense to carry something in a different way, especially swords. But yeah, whatever. I'm not invested enough in it to make it a big deal. Endlessly debate back and forth, which is better, which is good, which is bad, blah, whatever. Do what you want, essentially. We're obsessed with it because we all want to be adventurers we see in games and shows and want to make it work. Yeah, yeah, I know. Just go LARP or something. You can do all the back wear, if you do LARP, you can wear a halberd on your back or whatever. Like, the thing is light and flexible anyway, who cares, right? You can come up with a head rig, to strap swords to your head, like GoPro style. I don't care. Like, do whatever you want. Helmet mounted sword scabbards. My goal is to make enough money to build a medieval tavern in my backyard. Damn. Well, good luck with that. That sounds pretty awesome. COVID mask with gun holster? Oh boy. A good old rock in hand. No license, no maintenance. Yep. Oi, you got a license for that rock, mate? Skull streams are chill as fuck. Nice. Yeah, I mean, sometimes they derail a little bit if I'm extra cranky, but usually they're chill. Yeah. Today I'm a little cranky, so it's not super terrible. There's some crank, but not excessive amounts. Assault rocks. Assault someone with pop rocks. How about that? My hand is an illegal full auto rock thrower. Full auto? Them hand gains. Assault rifle? Assault rifle? You mean a 12-year-old Call of Duty player tied to a stick? You are considered rude if you're not into everyone else's business. Yeah, kind of. It's like, what do you think about this? What do you think about my favorite thing ever? I don't care. That's so rude. That's mean. Why are you going to be like that? Not everybody needs to be into the same things. Calm down. But my favorite ever. You gotta be just as enthusiastic about it as I am. No, I don't. Yeah, I know. Table assault guns, the bug assault. Literally just got done throwing 200 pounds of salt at work today. That sounds like fun. Did you throw it at someone? If you don't like what I like, fuck you, the internet. Yeah, literally. I mean, this is what all these super angry debates are about. Like, this series is shit. This is much better. Blah. This is not my Star Trek. You know, it's like, this is what it's all about. Like, you know, how dare you not be into what I am? How dare you make things different from what I prefer? You know, whenever anything is even remotely slightly changed about their favorite series or whatever, they lose their shit because how dare you? It's not no longer my favorite. It's like, yeah, that's what it is. That's the internet for you. It's a bathtub of acid. That's what it is. Super soaker filled with pee. Okay, as random as this comment is, it's kind of, yeah, that's the internet. It's kind of, you could visualize the internet as exactly that. Not just internet, people in real life are the same. Yeah, it's just more prominent on the internet because people start fights on the internet that they wouldn't in real life, and then they get extra anal about it, and you know, aggressive typing ensues, and then it's on the internet forever. So you get this huge collection of everybody's, you know, nerd rage. So yeah. And of course, because they're anonymous, they vomit out a lot more crap that they wouldn't tell you in person. So yeah, it is what it is. A super soaker full of cat pee is a Cards Against Humanity card. Internet also needs a reset button sometimes. Yeah, people need a reset button. What is your fantasy mount? Some hot elf girl, I guess. That's a crime against humanity, yes. The internet kind of is. Although, no, it just shows crimes against humanity. Exposes them. Bonk, yes, bonk indeed. The anonymity also has its perks, otherwise many people couldn't open up to anyone. Yeah, that's true. Most things come with pros and cons. Oh, what? I thought mount was a horse. Well, you can mount a number of things. You know, mount and ride. That's not exclusive to horses and stuff. Just happens in a slightly different way. Yes, horny jail, I know. I could retroactively change all the weapons of a historical army for dead cats. Which army would you pick and why? Huh. I think I would like to change the Romans' equipment to dead cats, just to fuck with them, because the Romans were, you know, very aggressively expansionist, and it would just be interesting to see what happens. I mean, a lot of things would change, I imagine, in history. Maybe Carthage would have a chance, you know, to carve out a more permanent place in history. I don't know. Anyway, I think I'm just gonna wrap it up here because I've been streaming for a while and there's stuff to do today. So, yeah. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the super chats and hope you had fun.